Hey there, and welcome to this tutorial on using your handmade art brushes in creating just random backgrounds for collage or in your art journal. And I wanted to just show you some of the art brushes that I've created over time. My favorites are feather brushes. So I've got quite a few here that have feathers in them. And I love using these because of the marks that these feathers make. And I just think they're really, really beautiful. And I will show you a few different things that you can use when you're working with the feather brushes. My preference is to use an ink rather than acrylic, because with acrylic, I find that the feathers, unfortunately with this one, they get really stiff. And with the inks, they don't. And I don't even have to clean them, which is really nice. And then I also have these, I just call these my Twiggy brushes. They're just made with everything from pine needles. These were just some dried branches from the beach, these as well. And then I have one that has a pom-pom on the end for dabbing. And then this one has a little pebble. And several of these were made in the Art Brush Maker project. If you are interested and you haven't taken it, you'll learn how to make these and several others from some other artists that we came together to make art brushes. So I'm going to use, I don't know if I'll use all of these, but quite a few of these. And I'm going to work in a sketch pad because this is really easy. I normally work really big, but for this video, I'm just going to show working on a sketch pad. And this is sketchbook paper by Canson. And it is, this paper is 11 by 14, and this one is 65 pound. This is a little heavier than I normally like. I normally like a 50 pound, but this is the tablet that I have nearby, and I'm going to go ahead and use this. And then I have India ink, Sumi ink. This is a great ink to use, and for black. And then I'm going to show you using, this is liquid acrylic ink. We're going to use that. This is just a fluorescent pink. And then we're going to use some quinacridone nickel azo gold. This is a high flow acrylic, so we're going to use this as well. And then I have some just regular acrylic paint that I'm going to mix with water because I want it to be a little bit thinner. If you have a fluid, that will work. I'll see, actually I do have a fluid, so I'll use this one here. I've got this sitting here. It's just a Deco Art medium acrylic paint. So I'm going to try to use a few different types, just to give you a feel for the process and what they look like, what the inks actually do. So I'm going to start with, this is just a Cool Whip Tupperware container, and I'm going to put a little bit of the black ink in it. And I like to use this larger container because I can get my brush deep down into the bowl. And then I also have these smaller cups. These are small plastic cups. These are ice cream cups. You can buy little single servings of ice cream, and so I have those as well. And then I have a piece of deli paper over on the side that I'll squeeze some of the acrylic onto, and I can use a spray bottle to activate the acrylic paint. All right, so we're going to start with the black and just pulling my feathers apart. I want to pull them apart a little bit, and you can see a little bit of that ink is still on there. But it's not stiff. And then this is a really good one too, so I'll probably use that one. Yeah, I like these. So I'm just going to dip my feather brush into the ink, and a couple of different ways that you can do this. If you want to hold the, I'm going to call it a brush, and really press as you go, you can get these kind of more bold marks, which is really nice. And you can also dip, and I like to do a couple other things. I like to do this, well, splatter, that's a good one. That was not intended. Is you can take it and you can roll it. You can kind of just gently hold it and roll it. And then you get this really unusual pattern. You can pounce it, and that'll give you a little bit of a different look as well, which is kind of cool. And so the feather brush, like I said, will give you these really nice, bold, solid, but not perfect. So it's not like you've taken a paintbrush and used a paintbrush, because a paintbrush doesn't make it look quite as organic as the feather brush does. And so that would be using the feather brush. So let's go ahead and use this pom-pom, and I'll use the black as well so I can use up some of what's in here. It's very absorbent. I just made this one, and this will give you kind of an organic circle if you pounce it, depending on the size. You can also kind of sweep it gently and create these. And if you use your non-dominant hand, you can get some really kind of cool marks. And if you want to create just papers to work with the same repeating pattern, you know, you can do that as well. And just take these tools and just repeat that pattern over and over on your paper. So, and if you do this with different size pom-poms, then you get a totally different look. So that's feather brush and using pom-poms. I'm going to tear this off and we'll let this dry, and we'll go on to another type of brush and we'll do some other inks. All right, I'm going to go ahead and use some high flow. I shook it up really good, and now I'm just going to squeeze it into one of these little ice cream cups here. And this is acrylic, so I'm not going to use my feather brush for this one. I'm going to grab a couple, and I do have a feather brush that's kind of dedicated to acrylic, so I could use it. And I probably, since I actually have used this already and it's really stiff, I'll go ahead and use that too. So let's go ahead and use some of these spiky brushes. This is stuff that was just found on the beach, and I'm just gonna roll that in there. And this is where I can just come in and start doing these like scratchy marks. And if I press and move it, I can get even something a little more solid. So I think it's just really playing with your brush to see what marks does it make. And they're all very different depending on how you make them. This one has a little bit more of a solid to it. But yet it's very difficult. It's kind of like, it looks a little like chicken scratch, I think. It's kind of hard to emulate that without something handmade and organic. All right, this matches this, which I think is cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and use this. This brush has a pebble on the end. And I'm just gonna pounce this down. And if I press here and there, makes it look a little different. If I get enough ink on it, I can smush it like that. I like the pouncing a little bit better. And I can twist it as I'm going. Again, it gets this kind of unplanned. It's really hard to decide, hey, I want it to look just like this, and then make it look like that. All right, so that's my little stone, and that's using a liquid acrylic. This is the high flow. All right, so let's go in and let's combine some liquid. This was Liquitex acrylic ink. You can use acrylic ink as well. So we're just gonna put some of that in the little ice cream cup. Let's go ahead and grab that feather brush that has the acrylic already on it. Again, if you don't clean it and wash it out, it'll make it will be a bit stiff. Now this container is a little small for this, but I'm gonna kind of smoosh it around in there. And again, you get that same kind of feel where it's a little bit solid, but these feathers are, again, they're not as big, and they definitely have been kind of dried together. So I'm going to put that in a little bit of water just to kind of rinse that one. Since I messed that one up, that one's okay. All right, and then we're going to grab this one here. Actually, let's switch colors. Let's go to the acrylic paint, and we'll use this in a little ice cream cup as well. And I'm going to add water to this with a spray bottle because I think that's too thick. I want to liquefy that just a little bit. It is a fluid, so it's a little bit easier to make liquid. All right, I'm going to go ahead and create a new page. So we'll put this one aside to dry. All right, so now I've got this brush that's made from, these are things I found at the ocean, these little spiky twigs. This container is a bit small, but I don't have a lot of big containers, so I'm just going to use this. And I could put it, let's do this. Let's see what we can do with this. Let's go ahead and put it on paper. And then that way, we can kind of roll it in the ink here, in the acrylic paint. And the thicker your little spiky pieces are, these are very thin, so they are giving these really thin lines. And then these are pine needles, so let's see what these do. I understand that pine needles in Florida are rather long. I had to trim these down quite a bit when I made this brush. And see, these are a little bit thicker. All right, that works. I liked it better doing it on the deli paper because then I had more to play with. I'm going to go back to the black, but I want to introduce you to this ink. This is Parker, and it's Quink. And I was introduced to this by Kia Cannons, and this is a really pretty ink because when it gets activated a little bit with water, it's not black. It's got this really pretty blue. And since I love Payne's Gray, which is an acrylic paint that looks more blue than it does gray, I'm going to use this. And I'm going to use another feather brush. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to dip those feathers in there. Again, this is a rather small cup for this, but it will do what it needs to do. And I'm going to go ahead and add. I might go to another brush, but ooh, I like that. That looks good. Maybe do a little bit of splatter. Okay, and there's still some in there. What I want to show you though is activating this with water. So I think I'm going to use this little brush here and I'm going to dip it in water. And I'm going to move this. I don't know if this is going to give enough water to do what I want to do. Maybe right there. Yeah. Okay, and I'll put this up a little closer to the camera. All right, now when it's wet, it kind of starts lightening up into this really pretty kind of lighter, it looks a lot like Payne's Gray. And I love that when it's activated with water a little bit. And now that I've got that teal in there, it's kind of really, really cool. I actually really love this. Let me drip that down. Ooh. Yeah, that looks really cool. I actually love this one. I think this is a favorite. And that was just done using handmade art brushes and acrylic with the teal and then the ink. Let's go in. I'm going to go in with the little pouncer brush here. I'm going to rinse, or I say brush. it's a pebble. And I'm going to go back into that teal here. Let's go back into the cup because there's some in the bottom. And let's just see what we can do with that might be. Let's put a little bit of that ink on it and see what happens. Let's put a little water and even go more. Yeah. Oh, I love it. And then maybe we'll do a little up there. I think this one's going to be my favorite paper. Let's dip that in there. And then maybe pull that out a little with some water dipped on it. All right, I don't want to overdo that, so I think that's good. We'll stop there. So those are just a few things that you can use. You've got your liquid acrylic, Sumi or India ink, either one, and high flow acrylics. You can use acrylic paint, and I used the, again, I can't pronounce this, the Parker ink, Quink, and I just use sketchbook paper. with all my handmade art brushes. So have fun making brushes and then just play on random papers. And I'll end up tearing this up when it's dry and using it in collage. I actually really like it even just like this. So we'll see what it looks like when it's dry. But all right, let me know if you have any questions on just kind of experimenting with your handmade art brushes, and I'll be happy to answer. All right, have fun and tag me on Instagram at Roben-Marie so I can see what you do. All right, have a great day. Bye.